Hey folks, it's Brandon Collins with my final interview of 2020. This one is with the four stars of the new Amazon Prime film, One Night in Miami. This film features some of the best performances of the year, all under the direction of the amazing Regina King. Be sure to check out this film when you get a chance. Special thanks as always to Africa for the opportunity. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified about new interviews and podcast episodes. Now here's my interview with the cast of One Night in Miami. Hello, everyone. Brandon Collins from the Media and Popcorn Podcast. Phenomenal work all across the board. You guys did a
Thank you.
great job. My question for each of you is, what kind of research and practice did you do in order to get into your characters who are also based on Black icons? We can start with Aldis.
So the research really started with trying to dig up a lot of interviews and just recordings of his speeches from the time frame in which we're telling this back in the 60s. Just really seeing who he was, where his mind was at, and what kind of business moves he was making. Found a lot of great, source material in that just for studying his mechanics and sort of his quips and how he handled certain topics, the way he spoke. And didn't really look into what we know of him now today, because I wanted to introduce who he was then that maybe we don't know as well. And it's really fascinating. He really is, quite an eloquent man on the subject matter of business economics and social injustice. And, he knew where he was at. And I feel like he was sort of an outlier in the sense of being a business magnate. So it was fun research. And then also just studying, his moves and his relationships with the other men in this particular film, and just being able to see what that was, because this is about a brotherhood and we're telling that story. And, to know him is to know them as well.
Yeah, I feel like you could just you could read and study and watch Malcolm for 2-3 years and still not even be halfway there. But I guess with the time restrictions and trying to figure out who Malcolm was in this story, for me, I was trying to get as much information as I could, as much reading as I could. But I was really, I guess, consciously or subconsciously trying to find as much information as I could to help me access the vulnerable world, the side to Malcolm that may have felt scared or unsure, or just trying to, just information that could sort of help you in your understanding of understanding the humanity in terms of like his fears, and like how tricky it might have actually been for him at that time, despite the strength, despite being this leader, despite sort of fearlessly taking on the establishment and putting his life on the line for Black people in a way that I'm just, Christ-like. Dick Gregory was really my super source. And there was one interview with him, I think it was an article that really blew my mind. And he was talking about a Malcolm, a friend, and a husband and a father and someone who was sweet and bashful, and someone who really jumped in and out of that personality, someone who the demagogue was he was sort of explaining to me that was one side to Malcolm, but there was really another side. And I guess more than anything, dialect and trying to keep the weight down and trying to, scene play, like, and each day that we had, how to come at the day, it was more just sort of a deep meditation on how fucking difficult that must have been for him, like it was in deep, deep trouble, he was in a real spot. And, any information I could find that would sort of support that or support that side of Malcolm's humanity, I just lapped up. But yeah, Dick Gregory, I would say, was he was on my wall. I had a lot of quotes from Dick that, that I woke up and sort of meditated on.
Great. Eli or Leslie?
I spent a lot of time just researching pretty much everything. I read every book I could find. I watched tons and tons of interviews. There were tapes that he had made for his daughters, um, just to kind of get a more personal side as opposed to the performing side. Um, Learned a lot about my relationship with Malcolm. There was a book, Blood Brothers, that was a really good book that I relied on for those kind of interactions. And it was informative toward the script as well. There was a lot of things that were relating between that book and the script, so it was really helpful. And then just as far as the process of kind of building the character, it was just a lot of discipline. I originally went for a role to play him 2 years before I got this role. I didn't get it, so I decided to continue to pursue playing him in another avenue and building the character. And I was going to do a play, and the play I was preparing for, I ended up getting this right when I was going to put up a play. And so it ended up being, like a perfect timing opportunity. But I had a dialect coach, a fantastic dialect coach, Trey Cotton, who I found, and was from the South and was able to kind of tell me a lot about just the culture of the South, but also the particular culture of Louisville, and building that accent from really a cultural place first, understanding the environment, understanding the heat, understanding the oppression, understanding how that affects how someone carries themselves, how someone may speak, and how you have to think about a lot of things before you spoke in that time, and how that affects how you communicate. And then building, the basic kind of forming vowels and flat A's and different things like that. And then also for my physical training, because I was also fighting in the film, I worked with my personal trainer, Kenneth O, building, more mass, because Ali was walking around at 6'3", 220. So I got up to about 215, 217. I'm 6'2", so it kind of was similar structurally. And we did that by gaining about 40 pounds of just weight, and then cutting down to have about 15 to 20 pounds of muscle. But it was kind of a tricky process, because I also had to continue to box and try to stay light and try to stay fast and keep my reflexes, and so that it would on camera read as though, I'm portraying the greatest athlete of all time. So I think, it was really important to just respect that and put a lot of time into that. So I had several boxing coaches, but the one who really kind of helped me hone everything together was Rob South, who worked on Creed and the Clarissa Shields story, and was on set for Ali, and he's done great work in the past. And he really kind of we crafted the Ali style with the fighting and the language and all that stuff kind of came together. So it was a long process. It was a lot of commitment and a lot of kind of fully investing yourself into it, but it was, it all paid off when we got to set, and everybody was so committed, and we could all just really not worry about all the preparation and just really play and talk and communicate with each other and tell that beautiful story.
Yeah, for me, as you can imagine, it was about the listening. I had hours and hours of music of Sam's to listen to, which also tells you a lot about a person's psychology. You can learn a lot about the heart of a man or woman, or the soul of a man or woman, from the way they lay down a song. I know, when I'm recording, I think about that. I think about that I want to leave something for my children and my grandchildren to know me, to know something of me in these records, which Sam did. So that was the first thing. And then there was much less footage of him speaking, but of course there are interviews and little snippets and all of that stuff was helpful. And I worked with the same coaches as Eli, the same dialect coach, brilliant guy, Trey Cotton. You guys should talk to him too. Brilliant. It's very, very hard to find Black dialect coaches in this business. I have been around and I've looked. And through Eli brought Trey to us, and I thought that Kingsley talked a little bit about the time. We didn't have a year to prepare. We had weeks to get ready. And when we started at the table read, Eli, I thought, was just in such a great place already. I didn't know Eli had been working for years, which I love that about you. But anyway, I was like, Trey, you gotta get in with me. And he was excellent, because when you work on the dialect, you're making psychological choices too. You're learning about all of the things that layer in, to anyway, to make up how we speak. I'm gonna stop talking. But yeah, so those things. It was the music and the dialect coach working with Trey. That was my prep. I'll stop talking so somebody can ask something. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you, everybody.
Medium popcorn, we are two niggas spoiling movies. Yeah. Brandon Collins, that's me, and Justin Brown for your movie needs. Medium popcorn, woo! You haven't seen it, well we're gonna spoil it. Spoil it in your face. That's your warning. So if you get pissed, it's all your fault.